The Vaal Flameblast build has been performing super well. I had to make a fairly significant change on the build. Previously, we were just going pure hit base. As you can see now, we've moved over into more of an Ignite version of the build. I ran into some problems where just generating souls on single targets, it was something I was worried about, and it did prove to be a bit of a problem, and Ignite just solves this problem. So we have moved over, but it's still a fairly interesting version of the build because we're using Perfect Agony instead of just normal Ignite scaling. So we're actually doing a lot of crit multi-scaling. It's actually really interesting. As you can see, the single target is good. This is a quest eater while I was still working stuff out. It's on a 5 link. I don't have my Emberwake, my Replica Emberwake yet, but it's doing fine. And I'm really happy with the build. I'm currently still like tweaking here and there and like constantly making little changes, but overall the build feels super nice. You can see a Katarina here. First thing you need to do is just hit that big Ignite, and then just we're keeping it up. I'll explain how this is all working, but yeah, the build is functional. It's also super nice for clear. I've got it to the point where it's like decently tanky, but I will speak more about the defenses. There's mainly an issue with physical damage reduction that we're looking to solve because I'm now using a staff instead of Dawnbreaker. So we don't have as much physical damage taken as fire, and we're also missing the armor that Dawnbreaker provided. And good news, because this is so ridiculously off meta, pretty much all the gear is very cheap. There's a few pieces that are more popular and generic that a lot of people are using, but overall, almost everything I search for, I'm just like, wow, I cannot believe that only costs, you know, like a couple of Chaos Orbs. I'll just let out this Amanamu finish. You can just see getting the big Ignites off on him. And yeah, all right, let me show you the builds. So that was a clip from Twitch from today's stream. If you want, you can go watch the whole VOD. You can see the development of the build. But firstly, to go over... Wait, Dean? Oh, someone needs an Exarch boss kill. So let's see how this goes. Oh no. Oh, I have like 350 ping. Lol. This is going to be horrible. Can we kill Searing Exarch with 350 ping? The ultimate test of a build. Okay, we need to get those souls up. Okay, we got enough souls. Oh no. Oh boy. Okay, hold on, wait. Homie's replacing my curses. Okay. There we go. Please don't replace my ignites. There we go. All right, we got the big ignite off on him, and now we just... Yeah, we did it. Oh, he got a jewel. All right, what do we get? He got a Unstable Infusion. I think this might be a banger. 16 Divines. All right, made that guy's day. All right, after that brief intermission, let's go over some of the gear. So the primary weapon we're using is actually Cane of Kulemak. Now, this is an item that I have identified and unveiled a million times and always wondered who the hell uses this. Well, funnily enough, I figured out it's actually best in slot on this build, believe it or not. Even compared to an Annihilating Light, this thing outperforms it. So I can show you, this is the pub that I was working on. It's a little bit scuffed, a few points too many, but we can, here's a Cane of Kulemak, like this exact one I have. If we pop on an Annihilating Light, you can see the Ignite DPS is 9.4. With Annihilating Light, it is 5.5. So Cane of Kulemak actually insanely good on this version of the build. And the modifiers we are looking for. Now, because we are going Perfect Agony, damage over time multiplier for ailments is equal to critical strike multiplier. Critical strikes deal no extra damage, non-crits cannot inflict ailments. So what we're doing is we are scaling crit multi, which is in a way converted into damage over time multiplier. So when you see crit multi when using Perfect Agony, it's effectively damage over time multiplier. So from this, we are getting 187% increased fire damage, and we're getting crit multi when a rare or unique enemy is nearby, and increased damage per power charge. So the main modifier, if you buy one of these to look for, is crit multi when a rare or unique enemy is nearby. That's the most important mod. After that, fire damage is also, I would say those two are mandatory. Then the next one is increased damage per power charge. That one is really good. And the only other one that I would say is probably usable is something like minion damage. So if you get one with minion damage, we can just quickly simulate that. So Cane of Kulemak. Now, you're probably wondering, minion damage is a bit weird. So the reason that getting the minion damage can work is that if you get a very large Thread of Hope, these are currently about 3 divines. If you do, you can actually hit Spiritual Aid up here, which is big damage, because here on our thing, we have minions deal 112% increased damage, which with Spiritual Aid also affects us. This also allows us to hit a few other good things around the tree. So you can grab like this life, you can hit Steelwood Stance over here, and probably drop Holy Dominion, but just like go like something like this, and it saves a bunch of points. So what you can do is you can buy these things with veiled modifiers and then unveil it yourself. I bought a bunch. These cost 5C each. Hopefully they stay very low, because who the hell is using Cane of Kulemac except us? But I bought 5C, unveiled the whole lot, and then compared them, and then found like this one probably the best. So what you can do, you can head over to the trade site, click Phrecia, and then go Cane of Kulemac, and then down here there is something that says veiled. Just go yes. So it is veiled, and then it'll bring up a whole lot. So preferably get one with like high increase unveiled modifier magnitudes. However, you might want to divine it afterwards depending on what you unveil. So normally you can get one. They're very cheap. You can see here they're like 5C, and then just unveil it until you get something that's good like this. Might take a few, but it's super worth it. Then for the rest of the gear, instead of going for Vaal Caress, just use Rare Gloves. We can get Fire Exposure on hit, which allows us to drop Wave of Conviction. Ignite Prolif as another implicit, then just res life. You don't need this particular temple mod. You can just get whatever. As for the belt, life resistances. As for boots, just life, movement speed, res. Ignites deal damage faster, best in slot on the implicits. Then you can also get Scorched Ground or action speed or movement speed or a resistance if you need it. Ring. On one of your rings, getting shock nearby enemies for 4 seconds when you focus. It's just a nice little thing for bossing. When you get to the boss, just push that when you're standing next to it, shocks it, gives you a nice little chunk of damage. Still using Cloak of Flame. This might change, but Cloak of Flame for the PDR is really good. The Fizz taken as fire. You need a pretty hefty chunk of armor in order to replace this, and then you probably also have to run Determination and a Granite Flask to beat it out. So Cloak of Flame for now is just dead simple. Helmet, Devouring Diadem, giving us Reservation Efficiency, Piece of Flesh. You can unveil Strength, Dex, Res, whatever you need on this, and it's also giving us Eldritch Battery, which saves a point on the tree. And then as for Amulet, Ungil's Harmony. So because of this thing on Perfect Agony, non-critical strikes cannot inflict ailments. If you're not critting frequently enough, you're going to really feel it. You feel like you're not doing any damage because you're not critting. So currently on my Vaal Flameblast with my Ungil's Harmony, I've got a 61% crit chance. With power charges, it's much higher. And also we have our flasks. So with flasks up, it's up to 72. And then we have 6 power charges. So it pushes up a bit, around about 90%. If you're very greedy, you could even use a Marlene's Fallacy. That gives you a massive amount of critical strike multiplier, but it gives you less crit chance, meaning that you're going to be very inconsistent with your damage. Like you're going to be inconsistent with applying the ignites, but when you do apply the ignites, you're getting huge damage over time multiplier because of the crit multi. That's really like quite risky. I don't know. I might test it. It might be really good, but for now, Ungil's, you can hit this with, for now, initially, the Anoint that I use, because we can't use Testudo anymore. Testudo is just for shields. Instead, what I anointed was over here, was Enigmatic Defense. This is very cheap. 3 violets. I think that costs like a 1C Anoint. But once you get this Intuitive Leap, I have opted for Disciple of the Unyielding. At least this lets us generate some endurance charges while we are mapping. As for bossing, you can use Inexorable, 25% chance to get an endurance charge when you are hit. You can instead anoint that instead of Disciple of the Unyielding. Another thing you could opt for if you want is to have a cluster setup with Enduring Composure. Enduring Composure is gaining 1 endurance charge every second if you've been hit recently. This is super nice, but fitting in the clusters, bit of a stretch currently. So Let's look over the tree. Starting over on the right, Perfect Agony, most important. Very important with Perfect Agony. Any fire damage over time multiplier or just generic damage over time multiplier will not work. It won't give you any more damage with Perfect Agony. You can get, however, more damage over time or increased damage over time with things like Malevolence. So Malevolence will increase your damage over time. However, fire damage over time multiplier will do nothing because we're using Perfect Agony. Another thing, do not get baited by Elemental Overload. In PoB, it looks like, oh, this is amazing. It's like a free 40% more damage. This cancels out Perfect Agony. So non-crits cannot inflict ailments. Over here, we have your crits do no extra damage. Ailments never count as being from critical strikes. These two, you will be incapable of applying Ignite. So do not take Elemental Overload. Then over here, just grabbing some power charges. Here, life. This is all pretty much the same. I need to pick up influence again. I'm a bit starved for points. Over here, this intuitive leap, I paid 2 divines for this. Let's see, still about 2 divines, a little bit less. This allows us to grab instability, enigmatic defense for more block chance, and also spell damage. Well, spell damage doesn't really matter, but the block chance is the most important. Mystic Bulwark for more spell block. And then over here, you can, if you want, grab Presage. That will allow you to fit in another aura, like a Vitality or something like that. Then over here, very important, this Fire Mastery, 50% chance to refresh Ignite duration on critical strike. So when we do Ignite a boss, we can just continually refresh it, that Ignite, with a Frostblink setup. So initially, I'm just using Frostblink to apply those crits. With our Frostblink, we have it is a 74% crit chance, again, without charges. It's 100% with power charges up. So you can just Frostblink over the boss to keep reapplying that same Ignite. Alternatively, a more safe route is to go Defiled Forces with the Arcanist brand setup, and then that will repeatedly apply the curses and refresh the Ignite on the boss. We might have to do this later because another item we need is Emberwake, Replica Emberwake. This ring, this is so good. 45% faster ignites is effectively 45% increased DPS. However, it has a major downside, which is 90% reduced ignite duration on enemies. So if we look at this build, and let's say I'm currently on a 5 link. When I have a 6th link, I will start using this. But let's say we're on a 5 link, right? So take off Unbound Ailments. If I put on this Replica Emberwake, you can see my Ignite DPS is 4.8 million. With Replica Emberwake, it goes down. And that's because it reduces my Ignite duration to 0.19 seconds. It reduces it so low that it actually deals less damage over time. However, once you get the 6th link, you can pop in Unbound Ailments. This gives you 79% increased duration of ailments inflicted with supported skills. That gives us a much higher uptime, 1.68 seconds. If you get instead, on this version of the build, I was testing some stuff, but there's a Cloak of Flame. We can get like a 3-second Ignite duration. Now, the reason that we might need to instead go for Defiled Forces instead of this Fire Mastery is that with a 2.7 second Ignite duration, right? And then over here, it is only a 50% chance to refresh Ignite duration on critical strike. With our Frostblink, that has a cooldown of 2.6 seconds. So half the time you won't refresh the cooldown. So that won't really work. However, what we could do instead is maybe go for something like this, which is an Armageddon brand setup with increased crits. This is probably what I will end up doing. Just something that like repeatedly hits the boss and reactivates the Ignite. So we might not even need to do that. We can just keep it on like this, save the points, and then just use a Armageddon brand. I will clean up this pub and link it in the description. Then this is all pretty much the same. Instead of going for the block with a shield, we're going with block with a staff. And over here, more block, crit multi stuff. Still going for the crit, life. I'm still grabbing Safeguard because we're getting a huge amount of spell block out of it. Over here, Lethal Pride. Main mod we're looking for over here is just Ignite deal damage faster. So over here, I'm getting Ignite to deal deal damage 10% faster. Over here, 10% faster. And I think there was another one over here, and on Devotion. So 20% faster ignites. Another thing you could anoint if you're very greedy is Searing Heat, or maybe it's worth just pathing down 1, 2, 3, 4 points. You're getting 20% faster ignite. This might be worth going for. Another thing could be worth going for is Arcane Expanse, just for like a really, really big Vaal Flameblast. So a lot of tweaking happening. If you're playing this, test stuff, like see what feels good. Let me know. If you have like a better setup, I'm all ears. I really want to know. Going over gems. Gem setup, Flame Blast, and then Swift Affliction, Deadly Ailments, Burning Damage, and then Crit Damage support. So that crit multi is effectively dot. And then the final one will be the Unbound Ailments or Awakened Unbound Ailments. These, very, very cheap Awakened gems. Unbound Ailments, I think is like a bit under a Divine, but yeah, this will be my 6th link. Then for Power Charge Generation, on bosses, another reason that we want to kind of dash over it, and another reason that maybe Arcanist brand could be better, is Power Charge and Crit. So not only are you refreshing your Ignite duration with crits, but you are also generating power charges. So this is how we get our power charges on bosses, and also how we refresh that Ignite. I think probably what would be better is have like a smaller Frostblink setup, and then make this into like a 4 or 5 link setup. Maybe even what would work is just this 6th link would be an Armageddon brand. So we have that, and then an Armageddon brand for bossing. Pop that in. We can also go for a Watcher's Eye. There's a lot of really, really good Watcher's Eyes that we can get. We can get like faster damage over time with Malevolence. We can get crit multi-anger. That's another really big one. Getting like 50% crit multi-anger is big damage. You can also get, if you want to go more defensive, is like use Determination, go with armor, PDR, that kind of stuff. I also have a Void Sphere of Rending with cast when damage taken support. You can just use a normal Void Sphere if you like, but it's got a very, very long cooldown. But I put this in initially because I'm using a Cinderswallow. It is a replacement for Onslaught after we lost Onslaught from Vaal Caress. So this, we can get 50% of damage taken is Leech's life during effect, so we do get hit a lot. So that really helps with a lot of recovery. Same with recover life when you kill an enemy, but also enemies ignited by you during effect take 10% increased damage. This thing, it consumes a lot of charges per use. However, recharges 5 charges when you consume an ignited corpse. So that's why I was using Void Sphere. This consumes corpses. So another thing that consumes corpses is Feast of Flesh. So you could remove this if you want, but it is also a very nice defensive layer. Then I am also using a Steel Skin. I'm just manually casting this. You could also do a cast when damage taken version if you want. Over here, Arcanist brand, Elemental Weakness, Flammability, and very importantly, Flame Surge. This just gives us increased damage, creates burning ground that kind of mirrors parts of our Ignite that we do. So Flame Surge, really, really good. And that's it for the gems. And I think the build, still using Soulcatcher, Cinderswallow, Urn, Quicksilver, Diamond, all of those are all the same. Next upgrades for the build, I'm going to be looking out for a Watcher's Eye. This Thread of Hope, I don't have yet. This is really good. It saves 3 points, with which we can use to get another 10% increased life over here. And then another point. Does give you minus 20 all res, which is a bit of a pain, but shouldn't be too hard to fit that in. We're not using Righteous Fire anymore, so we don't have to like overly scale our resistances, which is why we can actually fit in a Thread of Hope over here to save a few points. Yeah, that's the build. I am still absolutely loving this build. I think it's so fun. It's so much fun to play just some wacky, weird, off-meta build that like, who's playing Cane of Kulemac Vaal Flameblast? What is wrong with me? Oh, that doesn't count. I wasn't paying attention. Let me just go over the playstyle, and I should pay attention this time. So, first thing you want to do is just do an initial ignite on an enemy. That'll give you enough charges to use your Vaal Flameblast, and now you're pretty much cruising. You can just keep casting it. Why is it so loud? Help. Okay, wait. Let me do the sound first, all right? Okay, so hit that ignite. Now you should get a bunch of soul charges like that. And then just flame dashing around. Hit your Sealskin as needed. When you start feeling scared, we're getting a lot of life recovery from the Cinderswallow urn, and also the helmet. You can see our life flipping up, Feast of Flesh. Getting hit by a whole lot of stuff. And then I'm just like repeatedly flame dashing over them to refresh those ignites. Before I got these endurance charges, my physical damage reduction was really like, it was very lacking. I still really would like to push it up a bit higher. If it was like 3.23, I'd be using a Taste of Hate. I'd be using like Corel, Fizz damage taken as fire, and like all of that. But they've butchered it, man. Like Purity of Elements, Fizz taken as. It would be so easy to solve physical damage reduction on this, but now it is it's a little bit of a pain. So we're not like giga tanky yet, but I think we can figure it out with time. I mean, I am a boy without a 6-link still. Yeah, when you get to the boss, hit the focus to shock it, and then just keep reapplying that ignite on it. One other very important thing. This is very important. I'm leaving it till the end, so only the people who watch the end will be rewarded. But this Soul of the Brine King, so you cannot get stun locked. I would still like to have better stun and block recovery, but for now, just going for Brine King is great. Also, if you can get the 100% chance to avoid being frozen, very big. We don't have our Purity of Elements anymore, so we are susceptible to shocks, ignites, freezes, all of that stuff. But other map modifiers that you should probably avoid, Fizz as extra cold, Fizz as extra anything is usually pretty deadly. Then also reduced chance to block, do not run, just like it's terrible. Another one that is really crap is chance for enemies to avoid elemental ailments. That's just going to make it feel really yucky. You're not going to be applying your ignites consistently. But you know what? This league, it's going to sound so cringe. I've been running my red maps white, and it's felt really good because you can juice your maps so much with all the idols that just running it white and not having to worry about all those horrible modifiers and like burning through chaos for now feels absolutely fine. I'm making currency. I'm not having to worry about it. So unpopular opinion, just run your red maps white. Just do it. See how it feels. You'll be surprised. You get through them more quickly. You die less. You level up more. You actually get more stuff because you're not getting wrecked by too much scary stuff early on. So map mods to avoid. The one you need to avoid is the Alchemy Orb. Instead of just apply an Orb of Scouring and you're good. So sometimes you will get in a bit of an awkward situation where you kind of run out of souls. It happened against Cirrus to me earlier where I ran out of souls on his final phase and like I just was not getting any more. And it's just a souls management thing. You will get used to it, like managing your souls, knowing how many you have, not wasting it on the final phase or like before a boss teleports. It's actually just something you'll get better at. But yeah, there we go. Here is boss. One other thing is I'm thinking of adding in like a costume damage taken Desecrate for our Feast of Flesh, but I'm struggling to fit that in. But that's the build for now. I will update you again, probably once we get closer to the final form. We have the 6th link, we have all the good gear, leveled up gems. One wonderful thing about this build is it's performing this well, and I know that I'm missing like 2/3 of my damage, so we can really push it a lot further. There's a lot of scaling that we can still do. Anyway, that's going to be it. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Let me know how your build's been going in Phrecia event. Stay safe. I'm going to sleep. Bye.